Hello everyone and welcome. In this video we'll be covering the science fiction psychological horror film directed and co-scored by Kane Parsons, this being his feature-length directorial debut and written by Will Sodick. Now, for those of you who don't know, the film's source material was that of a 4chan post in 2019 regarding a photo a user posted of an empty office room that had a similar appearance to the office rooms in the film. Kane Parsons took a liking to this and created a YouTube video of this space consisting of the same office titled Backrooms found footage that blew up online and had viewers begging for this type of content to go mainstream. Now, it wasn't until many years later that this desire became a reality in 2026's Backrooms film. Since then, the film has garnered praise from both critics and audience members alike. The film has had a budget of around $10 million and has since made over $120 million plus as of the recording of this video, with professionals estimating that it can make even more than that given the fact that it's still in its early release stage. Now, this comes off the foothills of the film Obsession, also directed by a young Gen Z film enthusiast who made the film for way less. We're talking $750,000, and the film is coasting past $100 million worldwide. Now, this signals to general audiences in major Hollywood studios that we are tired of superhero movies. We're tired of Star Wars this and that. Tons of stuff that they're feeding us, and us audiences are hungry for films that are unique, well made, and skim off all the fat, aka no more DEI hires, race or gender swaps of beloved characters and the such. The people are finally voting with their wallets and are winning. People need to stop going to these over-the-top blockbusters, if you can even call them that anymore, and focus on more niche, internet-driven source material. I mean, am I going crazy here? Let me know in the comments if you guys feel the same. It seems that Hollywood cannot understand the gravity of how large the internet is. Gone are the days of a film studio making one banger film and financially coasting off that income by generating 5 sequels and prequels to that film. Instead, we're starting to see the source material and lore of honest-made internet content, mainly helmed by Gen Z, is now the new talk of the town. Now, I feel like I've made my point since the films have done their own talking and walking based off the art itself and the numbers. We will now move on to the film itself, starting with the actors, the infrastructure, probably infrastructure first, such as editing, writing, cinematography, etc., and the plot itself before going over spoiler territory, of which you'll be warned beforehand. So buckle up, tie a rope around your waist, and get ready to journey with me into the back rooms. Alright, let's get rid of the boring stuff first. Cinematography was helmed by Jeremy Cox, who did a fine job, especially given the limited source material of this liminal space. Editing was done by Greg N. I can't really pronounce his last name, who did a decent job. There was no intricate editing or very unique effects. If anything, the practical and special effects really take the cake here. Music was helmed by Edo Van Buren, along with the director himself, who produces music as well. The film was distributed by A24 Films. And finally, we're starting to get into the meat and the potatoes of the film, the actors. The film stars Chiwetel Ejiofor, I do hope I'm pronouncing that right, who plays Clark, a furniture store owner who is struggling to cope with alcoholism and a recent divorce. He did a really good job. He's mainly known for roles in films like 2012, Salt, 12 Years a Slave, among other things. Now, that being said, he is by far the most famous actor in this film, with the rest of the cast being relatively unknown by mass market standards, which is necessary for a film at this small stature. Having a moderately well-known and talented actor such as himself definitely gave some credibility to this film and a garnered audience prior to its release. His ability to display confusion, sadness, fear, and intrigue really worked to pull us audience members into the film. The film also stars, and please forgive any mispronunciation, Brenate Rivenset? Horrible, I know, who plays Mary Klein, his therapist who attempts to help him with all of his struggles. She herself deals with internal struggles, of which we'll be going over shortly, but manages to intertwine herself in these back rooms given her innate concern for her clients. This actress is relatively unknown and is mainly known for her roles in well, nothing. All the films I researched in her filmography did not reach mass market status or critical acclaim. Now, that's not to say she's a failure in any aspect. No. But rather that she is a gem among the rough that we are more than happy to mine and cherish. Her ability to also act confused, scared, along with showing a deep care for her clients, again helps us as audience members soak in this film's story. Now, that's going to be it for the actors, since all other actors who played in this film did minor roles with little or no screen time or very little speaking, if anything, at all. Now, you might be wondering, what's the reason I brought up the fact that these actors are not A-listers? Well, that's because we as audience members are tired. We're sick of seeing the same top 10, 15 A-list stars in all of our movies. Who else is tired of seeing Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Kevin Hart, Jack Black, Zendaya, etc.? I know I am. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Your silence confirms that you want to see Zendaya in your dreams tonight. It's a dream to a few, but a nightmare to many. Now, that's not a knock at them, but rather the fact that this overexposure of these actors hinders our audience's greatest tool in enjoyment, the suspension of disbelief. Seeing the same actor on vacation on Instagram, on the red carpet, in 15 consecutive movies removes our ability to see them as artists, but rather as a product. And that, my dear viewer, we cannot stand for. So the plot is as follows. Oh yeah, spoilers ahead. Clark, a failing furniture salesman who is going through a messy divorce and alcoholism to cope, visits his therapist to work through his problems, only to find that his problems might be too hard for him to work through, and storms out of their meetings, before eventually finding a portal through the wall of his store's basement that leads to the back rooms. Instead of reporting it immediately like a sane person, he is instead interested in exploring it further and does his best to document his findings. After reporting this to his therapist, who was apprehensive to believe this, and rightfully so, he decides to prove it to her. By enlisting the help of his 2 store employees, he tells them to bring the camera that they used to film this cheesy pirate commercial to document their findings. That comes into play a little bit later. Now in this venture, both of them appear to perish. His attempted escape from this leaves him trapped since the rooms shift and change endlessly. His therapist finds a disturbing voicemail he left her and decides to investigate. She visits his store only to find that the place appears to be abandoned, completely empty, mail piling up. After investigating further, she finds the door to the back rooms outlined by Clark with tape against the wall in his basement. She naturally finds herself lost and runs into a version of Clark who is too far gone into the back rooms and has developed what one can describe as insanity. In her fear and confusion, Clark takes the opportunity to choke her out and tie her up. He asks her to rerun the therapy roleplay, which she is forced to do. They go through it before she finally snaps and slaps him with the reality that he is a broken man, and the only person who can fix him is himself at this point. Just that, himself. Now this hits hard for myself and many other people in their own ways. We all struggle with our own problems, and the fact that we have a 4K mirror held up against ourselves saying that it is up to you to change. No one else, no therapist, no rehab agent, but only you can change. It's here that Clark asks, what if I don't want to change? And like that, the drugs, the back rooms, what they've done, they've lulled you into a state of complacency that leaves us zombified. She says, that's fine, go ahead, embrace it. This all happens before an entity decides to remove Clark from the equation, and she fights for her life, only to be rescued by one of the members of the ASIC Foundation, who formerly designed MRI machines. Now this piece of information is a bit significant since MRI machines take slices of photos of the human body to conjure up images to create a complete picture. Now this implies the backroom does something similar, taking slices of a person's life, placing them there, alluding to the backrooms affecting each and every individual who enters uniquely, using parts of their own lives, which I find very interesting, and I think a lot of people did too. Clark is shown distorted images of his life and is unhappy with it, and the same can be done for Mary, as she has memories of her shut-in mother who was hospitalized. This inspires her desire to be a therapist to save others so that they don't have to go through what her mother went through. In short, this film deals with the topic of loss, addiction, complacency in that addiction, and all under the backdrop of a horror via liminal space. Now, there are a lot of YouTubers who seem to compare this to AI, but I think that's a stretch. I really do. Yes, the Backrooms does use a copy of a copy concept to recreate things like AI does with real human art, but the Backrooms have always been about creating random creepy stuff, endless rooms, and recreating what they know long before AI became mainstream. So if that is the case, that is a very, very newly added on aspect. Personally, I am more stoked on the personal psychological struggle that the Backrooms places on its inhabitants, and I already hate AI technology, so having to talk about it as a main point of this film seems forced and not 100% genuine, even if that is confirmed by the creator himself. Overall, the film is great. It's an omen to Hollywood that they need to stop making countless remakes to bank off their successes, and rather a beacon of hope for new young creators who know what the next generation wants to see in film. I just want to reiterate a few things before closing this video. I do appreciate you guys watching, so thank you for that. If you enjoy it, like it, subscribe, and the such. Like I mentioned earlier, this film deals with addiction, sadness, and loss like no other recent film that I have seen. An individual who is in addiction, they lose their way. They lose their desire for sobriety. They lose the pursuit of happiness. They don't want to go outside, feel the sun, climb a mountain, or conquer the stars, but rather aimlessly roam the back rooms in a blanket of complacency that lulls them to wander forever, unaware of the greatness outside of the back rooms or whatever addiction they may have. Overall, this film, as mentioned earlier, signals the death of endless remakes, gender swaps, DEI hires, sequels, prequels, you name it, and the start of a new generation of filmmaking in which people are willing to take the risk, hiring their own generation to make films that the audience actually wants to see instead of what Hollywood wants to force them to see. If you haven't seen the film yet, why not? Go ahead and watch it. I'm sure you're going to have a good time. For those of you who have seen it, let me know in the comments. What did you like about it the best? Did you like the actors? Did you like the writing? Did you like the commentary? What did you think? Tell me. I'd love to hear. And no, that's not a ploy to get you to blow up this channel. I know the amount of views I get. I actually genuinely want to have a good conversation with some film lovers who actually want to talk about this film. The source material is interesting enough. I know there's a big audience for it. It's not necessarily SCP adjacent or like connected to, but other than that, I did enjoy the movie. Let me know what you guys think. Did you enjoy the video? Thank you again for watching. You guys are the best. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out!